Body bags were horror lies.
Hey YouTube, welcome to Body Bags. I'm the Tattooeddoorman, and today I want to look at a 2010 movie with a bit of a controversial nature, and that is The Bunny Game. Now, The Bunny Game's plot can be broken down in the most simplest terms of a prostitute who is picked up by a truck driver and is tortured over several days. That is the simplest explanation for the plot. To go a bit more in depth, we start off with the character. None of them actually have names. All we meet is a prostitute, and she goes from abusive customer to taking drugs for the proceeds of the money, back to abusive customer. This repeats up until she bumps into a truck driver. She offers him oral sex for a price, and he attacks her. The next scene after the attack is him abusing her in the back of his truck while she's still unconscious. And then we get her waking up to find herself chained to the back of the trailer and screaming. And this is repeated over several days. He goes in, abuses her, and leaves her screaming. So that is the whole story of The Bunny Game. There's nothing really more to tell about the plot. That is everything. Very, very simple. Now, it did have its controversial moments. The film does open up with a real oral sex scene. The female lead character, she does give oral sex, and it is graphic. It's in close-up, so you get to see everything. There's a lot of what was gathered as real violence actually towards a female character. She actually underwent real brandings during the movie, and a lot of people saw this as, maybe being a step too far. But personally, when I was watching the movie, I think it has a lot of flaws. To be honest with you, when I first bought the title, I was looking forward to it. It was aimed more towards extreme horror fans, or the horror fans of more of a, movies of graphic nature. Basically, I bought it and I watched it, and I haven't watched it since yesterday when I rewatched it to do this review. The main reason why I haven't watched it, it's not because it went too far in my eyes, it's not because it is actually over graphic. There is actually very little blood, if any blood at all, in this movie. The reason why I have not ventured back to rewatch this movie is, to be honest with you, it bored me. I actually found the repeat scenes over and over again to be so repetitive. It came to the point of actually being boring. There is one scene in particular that is repeated over and over and over. This happens somewhere between 10 to 20 times. It starts off with the male role, the truck driver, slapping the prostitute. Then it flips to him snorting something in a rag, whether that is some kind of drug or maybe some petrol or something like that. Then it goes to him shouting, and then it goes to her spitting on him, and this is repeated. The slap, the snort, the shout, the spit. Scenes like that, they could have been cut down. The repeat use just became tedious and, to be quite frankly, quite annoying. A lot of it is just the truck driver shouting and the woman screaming. There is a lot of what almost looks like music video poses from the prostitute at the beginning of the movie, where she stood posing against buildings and things like that, which to me could have been cut down again. There just seems to be a lot of footage that could have been cut down. But this runtime of 80 minutes, I do believe this could have been easily cut down to under an hour because of the repeated use of scenes. The character herself, the prostitute, once you actually meet her, at the beginning you begin to actually feel sorry for her because of the abuse, but then the next scene is that she's taking drugs, she's completely off her face, and she's laughing hysterically and having a whale of a time. And then it goes to the next abusive customer, and then the repeat of she's laughing, she's completely off her face. So to build up any type of sympathy for the actual female lead, it's pretty hard to actually feel sorry for her, even though she does endure a lot. To begin with, if they'd made her more of a character you could sympathise with, I think the film would have worked on a better level. But as it stood for me, I just found the character of the prostitute really a character you couldn't sympathise with. It's really strange that you can see a woman being tortured, but not to actually give a damn, to be honest with you. And that's how I felt about it. I think the actual female character, the female lead, they didn't get the sympathy side. If they had got that to start off with, that would have worked a lot better. So that for me was a downfall of the movie. The repeated scenes, the useless scenes. One in particular is after the attacks, the truck driver goes and stands at the end of the trailer of his truck and just looks out into the distance. And that will stop on him for 5 minutes at a time. In fact, one particular scene, the character, the truck driver, actually looks bored. He's standing at the back of the truck and he's kind of just looking around. He actually looks kind of lost on screen. He's just staring away. He's having a cigarette, and his whole demeanour of the character just says, I am actually bored. I want to go home. I've had enough of this. So yes, overall, I think the bunny game was monotonous. It was repetitive and overall boring. To be honest with you, on the rewatch, the second time I watched it for this review, it got to the 40 minutes mark and I actually fell asleep, and I woke up and had to watch the ending again just for the review. And it's really, I think it came to the 50 minutes mark or coming up to the hour mark before you actually find out what the bunny game is. And when you found out what the bunny game is, to me, that was an absolute letdown. This will be a spoiler. If you don't want to know, just shut off now. But the bunny game is, he puts a bunny mask on her, sets her free, and then chases her and captures her. That is the bunny game. It really, the title of the movie, I guess, was really just so misleading because it's such a small and short scene in the movie. It just seemed pointless. They could have just called it Trucker Beats Up a Prostitute rather than the bunny game. I suppose with the title, it is interesting. What is the bunny game? What is all this leading to? But when you find out, the bunny game is actually a disappointing kind of factor of the movie. So with that said, if you think that brandings and a woman being shouted at might impress you, go for it. Otherwise, to be honest with you, I cannot recommend this movie at all. It was just overlong. It became boring, tedious. Honestly, it really, to me, was a boring movie. The lead actress and the kind of things that she underwent during this movie, you know, the actual physicals, the slapping, and she gets her head shaved at one point. But to me, all that she went through doesn't justify the movie at all. It really doesn't. She may as well have just made a music video and done something like that rather than a full-length movie. So for me, the bunny game is a major miss. I've been the Tattooed Doorman, and that has been my review for the 2010 movie The Bunny Game. And as always, thank you very much for watching.
7 days a week of horror. Can you handle it? Tune in every day for a new review from Body Bags, where horror lies.